Welcome back, Tribe. I have one here from Wisdom Warriors. Why dating is broken in 2024 and what boomers don't understand.
I want to talk about the dating market and just general relationships in 2024. This is something that no other generation understands except Zoomers and maybe millennials, and that is dating is totally broken. Me and my brother, I'm 26. My brother is a little older than me, and we are undoubtedly the first men in our entire ancestral lineage, going back like thousands of years, to not be married by the age of about 22 or 23. My parents, my grandparents, my great great grandparents, my great 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 great, as far back as you go, it just gets younger, right? And this idea, the fact that there's so many people about the age of 30, even older than that and younger than that, that aren't in long-term relationships, that aren't married, it's creating a very different world from our parents and even from our grandparents. They can't understand. My parents were talking to me the other day. They're like, why aren't you in a relationship? Blah, blah, blah. They think it's me overcomplicating it. Like, oh, I'm looking for a unicorn, or, oh, my standards are too high, and my standards are really high. But also, they don't understand that the entire field and sexual market of dating is totally flipped on its head right now. And
That's something my parents actually understand. When we were living in America, I'll be completely honest, Eastern European mothers look at American women as they're only good for sex. Like, get you a real woman when you want to get married. That's what they say. I've heard this also from my Asian friends, my Hispanic friends, even African friends, all immigrants though. That's what we all have in common. All my immigrant friends in ESOL class and all the ones that I've kept in touch with as we were going on up through high school and graduating, going to college, new friends I made, all the mothers say the same exact thing. Most of these girls aren't marriage material. That's just the immigrants. The mentality from my American friends, purebred, raised multiple generations in America, is completely different. They're extremely liberal when it comes to relationships. The sleeping around, the degeneracy, the having zero standards, accepting less, treating women like they're princesses, don't hold any of them accountable, responsible for anything. All this stuff was led to the issues that we're having today when it comes to dating, relationships, marriage, intimacy, all of that. All that is underpinned in the fact that we don't respect what it means to be a man. We don't respect what it means to be a woman. We have no clear boundaries. We set no expectations on one another. Oh my God, 100 body count woman. Yes, go queen empowered. It's okay. You're not going to suffer any psychological damage whatsoever. Oh my God, dude sits at home, plays video games, jacks off all day. It's okay, Timmy. One day you'll find a woman that'll love you for you. We're feeding each side complete bullshit, and they're ending up miserable, alone, and more isolated than they've ever been, despite having the interconnectivity of the internet today. We're more connected than we've ever been. Yet more people are on more pills than they've ever been. More people report being more lonely than they've ever been. First in generations. I'm probably one of these, not married yet. But everybody else in my family and my generation married by their 20s, for sure. Some of them had kids when they were 14. Different times, sure. But it seems like we're progressing in the wrong direction. If we look at culture as a natural evolution, if it's its own organism, and we're looking at multiple cultures around the world, then by definition of natural competition, where the strong survive, aren't the cultures who are struggling with replenishing their populations failed cultures in the eyes of nature, in the eyes of evolution? If we're all a bunch of different cultures competing, all societies competing against one another, we can look at them as their own form of organisms. Aren't the ones that are dying out, that are facing population collapse, failed societies, failed cultures, despite their achievements and their wonder and their beauty? Like Japan, beautiful people, beautiful culture, beautiful technological advancements and achievements. South Korea, same thing, incredible feats of ingenuity, marvelous things. But when it comes to the culture as a whole, they're facing population decline. Collapse is imminent. They will no longer exist within I don't know how many hundreds of years. There won't be any of them left. Isn't that a failure in the eyes of Mother Nature? Isn't there something profoundly wrong with your society? If you can't even replenish your own numbers, forget growth, at least maintain. Maintaining is far easier. The decline means there is something severely wrong with the way we're going about society. If you're in one of these nations that is dealing with imminent population collapse, in the eyes of nature, it is a failed society. because eventually you won't exist anymore. So where did we go wrong? And once we start to unravel that thread, we'll start to understand why we're having these problems and what we could do to rectify them. The issue is we're living in a form of a duality where we have the boomer class, the old school people, whose lives cannot be any more different than what a young person is going through today. They hardly understand how to use email. Imagine that. There's people walking this earth who don't know how to use email in the age of AI. That's crazy. They're so disconnected to what it takes. Like, you take a boomer, reverse age them to 20 years old, boom, drop them in society today, having grown up to 20 with their previous knowledge, and they would fail horrendously, miserably. And they would be absolutely horrified by the state of society today. That's how disconnected they are. The knowledge they gained up to 20 years old and having to be dropped in this timeline and forced to survive under these conditions, their heads would explode. We've headed in the wrong direction in every single facet of life. What's dating like today for the average man? Damn near impossible. Average is seen as a negative. Average isn't seen as the average. Everybody's average. It's the average. No, it somehow has a negative connotation today. You're looked at as less than a human being, less than a man, less than. You're not worthy of being a husband. You're not worthy of putting a ring on my finger. You're an average man. You're disgusting. An average doesn't pay today, economically speaking. Having an average salary, average life, is practically being a slave in the modern world. You're a tax slave. You go into your cubicle, your dead-end job. Nothing fulfilling about the work that you do. No impact on the company or anything around you. You're a monkey that pushes button and files papers. What sense of pride and accomplishment can you pull from that? None. And they pay you piddly squat because your job is worthless to them, and they'll replace you with another monkey to go home to your decrepit environment as inflation and bad economic policy has crept up and eaten into your salary. You can hardly afford to pay yourself. You're eating box lunches, dinners, grabbing chips and drinks from the soda machine, horrendous sleep schedule, body is breaking down from all the synthetic food you're ingesting, mind is turning into mush from all the social media you're consuming, all the video games, all the porn, all the whatever everybody's consuming today, has them essentially turning into mindless, numb zombies that are just sleepwalking their way through life. And this is the society we're supposed to be proud of. This is the society we're supposed to flourish and find love and intimacy and grow and start a family. And they wonder what the hell's going on with young people. Why doesn't the average man want to get married? Oops, forgot about divorce rates. Oops, forgot about the government coming in and taking all your assets. Oops, forgot about the contract that says a woman could leave with half your shit, is incentivized to break it. We no longer live under your norms as a boomer. The unspoken truths and contracts of society today have all been broken. Your world simply doesn't exist, and the strategies you use to succeed in it are long gone, soon to be buried with you.
That's what I want to talk about in this video. The biggest problem with dating today is a lack of familiarity and friend groups that interact with other friend groups. This is so important. The lack of familiarity is crushing dating, and it's because of how men relate to the dating market and how women relate to the dating market, which we're going to get into. So back in the day, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, if you went to the park on a sunny, beautiful day like this, there's probably going to be hundreds of young people playing sports,
I'd love that he brought that up. This is what I was shocked by living in Bucharest. I cannot believe how many young people go to the park on the weekends. Groups of women, groups of men, groups together, not just one gender, together playing volleyball, playing handball, playing whatever it is, soccer, kicking ball, little picnics in entire groups. Everybody's got their little towels on their picnic blankets on the ground with food. They're sharing, they're laughing. Entire groups of people, families with multiple kids, baby carts being pushed everywhere, strollers everywhere. I grew up in America, never seeing that in the parks. I saw junkies. I saw one basketball court that was being used, and the rest were drug dealers, homeless people. And besides the occasional event of like the Pee Wee League, that's all the parks were used for. Compared to Eastern Europe, at least, it feels like I went back in time to the stuff this guy's talking about 25, 30, 40 years ago. It feels great, man. It's a shock to see that. More of what society should be and less of what it's become in the West. Unfortunately, all that stuff is creeping over here into the rest of the world as well. Only a matter of time.
Playing games, interacting, open to socializing. Same thing with the beach, the town square, wherever, right? And that's because there's no phones. Okay. Things changed really drastically in the past decade with social media and with phones. You go to the gym, for instance, it used to be this temple of like social, like upliftment, right? You and your boys are all talking. No one has earphones in. Think about going to the gym and no one has earphones in, right? Everyone's listening to the same music and talking, slapping each other on the back. There's more relationships in general. And this translates to going out, walking the streets, going to the park. There's much more of a sense of open cohesion in public with community. Just imagine the town square, the park, 25 years ago. You go out, you see 5 people you've seen around town, around the city before. Hey, what's up, Mark? Yeah, I'm gonna join you for some badminton or whatever. Mark's hanging out with a friend group with 5 other guys and 3 ladies, and you know one of the ladies peripherally, so you start talking them up, and they introduce you to other people, and that's how community should evolve. Is this like this intermingling and this spreading? The problem is you go to the park, everyone's sitting with 1 or 2 or 3 other people. And if they're alone, they have earphones and are petting their fucking dog. Like everyone is so isolating right now. And it's so easy because the moment that you feel bored or you feel insecure, you go on your phone, you disconnect, you do something else. So there's lack of large group familiarity, and there's lack of this courage to create it. Even for someone like me, and I try to approach someone every day. When people are just in their small little group or they have their headphones and are doing their own thing, it makes approaching like really difficult. And I think like I know that was different before, and that makes connecting really hard today because now we live in a totally unfamiliar, disconnected world. And unfamiliar worlds create short-term dating strategies, which we're going to get into. So in familiar dating scenarios, this is high school, this is college, okay? And these two things have a monopoly on socialization. I didn't go to college, and a lot of people who don't go to college are always stuck in the unfamiliar world. So the familiar world is like, maybe 200 people of the opposite sex, right? And 200 people of the opposite sex are familiar with you. They've seen you around, they've seen you interact, and maybe 10 of them, are even more familiar with you. When you're familiar, when the opposite sexes are familiar with each other, there's much more long-term dating strategies taking place. Women aren't just all going for the cutest, hottest, and like most smooth guy. And also, they're getting to know many guys, right? And then they're choosing for what would actually like be a good partner for me, whose personality, whose looks, whose, vision and values most match me. And that's what good dating should be, is like, who's going to be a good match for me? Like if you're a 10 in terms of personality and looks, right? You're going to find another 10 in terms of personality and looks, 9 to 9, 8 to 8, something around there, right? What happens in unfamiliar situations, and this is dating apps, and this is also clubs. This is like where young people, I can't meet young people anymore. Okay. This is so hard for me. I'm 26. I go out all the time, coffee shops, parks, dances, concerts, things like that. It's really hard for me to find other young people my age. Because they're all going to clubs or they're on dating apps, which is a great tragedy because all those places are unfamiliar. And when you do see girls your age out at the gym, out at the park, out at the coffee shop, they're always occupied on their phone or with friends. And it makes the approach much harder, although I still do it, right? So basically the entire world is full of unfamiliar dating dynamics, okay? And unfamiliar dating dynamics, Homath goes into this really deeply. I'm not going to go in that deep right now. But in unfamiliar dating dynamics, I went to the club a couple days ago, okay, for like the first time ever. And there was probably 75% men there. Mm-hmm. All of them fucking looking lonely except the ones in their little posses of friends, right?
Yep.
And there was like quite a few attractive ladies there. And those attractive ladies got attention all night from men, like all night from different types of men, right? And the problem is they're going to choose the man who's like the most beautiful and smooth on the outside, right? And they might, have a little fling, do something, but the chances of that working out well is really low because it's an unfamiliar situation. That man has like the attention of like 10 different women looking at him, right? And he's going to go choose the best one. And then, but the best one he chooses and the best one she chooses are based off superficial connections, right? And this is the challenge with unfamiliar dating worlds. So for me, my personal experience here, right? I am probably a 7 on.
I don't know what post-COVID nightclubs look like. I haven't been in that scene in a minute. From what I've seen myself, just in general, and what I've heard from friends that have gone out and just seeing what bars look like, especially post-COVID, the culture, there's been a like conscious shift that we haven't recovered from post-lockdowns. They're no longer fun places to go hang out with the boys, pick up chicks. Everybody's having a good time. It's friendly. Everybody's there just to have fun. Obviously, tons of hookups, tons of drugs, tons of alcohol, and that's essentially what nightclubs were. Nowadays, it seems like the bar and the club scene are pretty much dead. It seems like most of the hot chicks work at the bar. They're the bottle girls, or they're hired by the clubs to essentially goad men into coming in or get people on the dance floor, get people spending money. I mean, there's chicks that literally are planted there by the bar, by the nightclub, just so guys will come in and spend money. Like, oh, bro, I just saw so many hot chicks at this club. It was packed Friday. We got to go again. Brings the group of guys out, sees another round of hot chicks. Then you find out after talking to them, if one really does like you, that, yeah, she's just here. She's working. All the drinks she's pretending to have, getting blasted, having fun, are just water. She's getting paid. The attitude in general between men and women has soured since I've gone out to nightclubs. Like, it wasn't so negative and adversarial. Women looking to just destroy men's egos or get famous on, social media, turning down guys and just being extremely rude about everything. And yeah, it's sad to see the conscious shift. It's been happening slowly, but it got turbocharged after COVID. If you look at like 90s, early 2000s, like raves, festivals, nightclubs, playing house music, all that's, man, just it was crazy. It was incredible. Nowadays, hell, even the last time I was in Vegas for a friend's, I think it was a bachelor party, same thing. I couldn't believe that some of my favorite nightclubs, just looking at the line alone, it went from beautiful women from around the world or just beautiful in general at Omnia, at all these places in Vegas, Hakkasan and all of them. Just, wow, dude, you couldn't step into a Vegas club without there being absolutely gorgeous women. Was nothing but nasty cave trolls, gremlins, ghetto, garbage. It was gross, dude. What happened? The music changed. They used to play house music, super upbeat stuff, good tempo, beat drops. I mean, everybody's hopping up and down, dancing, grinding. I know, to like trash DJs, trash music, trash atmosphere. I don't know what happened, but the change was sudden. And I'm sure there's still some decent places, but man, oh man, everywhere used to be decent before. Now you got to look for one.
On a good day, I have a good personality, good charisma. My face, yeah. There's some issues. I know people watching this would be like, oh, you're beautiful, or oh, you're ugly. It's like, I would rate myself a 7. Okay. I tried Hinge, a dating app, for 3 weeks. I paid for it. The premium Hinge, right, in a city. I paid $75 for it. I got 2 likes in 3 weeks. I got 2 likes. Okay. And this revealed something to me, is Hinge is optimized again for that 1% of men. It's not even 5%. It's literally 1%. That 1% of men who are a 10, right? And they optimize their profile. They have professional photo shoots. They probably like studied how to do the prompts and everything, right? And every woman who goes on Hinge who is like attractive, like I got a couple likes from what I would deem like unattractive women who aren't in my league, right? But all the attractive women who are like...
You're not a 7, bro. I'm going to be brutally honest. If you only got 2 matches in 3 weeks, the market has spoken. Yes, the dating standards in the West are completely skewed. But if you were a legitimate 7 in a woman's eyes, because you're saying you're a 7 rating yourself from a male's perspective, your characteristics, you deem yourself a 7. But it's not what women's rating scale is completely different. So it could be that you're taking bad pictures. Like you say, you don't have a professional camera. It could be that your bio or your profile just isn't interesting enough. Like the variety of the pictures, the scenery you're taking them in, yada, yada. There's a lot of things that go into a dating app profile to make yourself more successful. A guy can get far more success if he does these things correctly. But at the end of the day, attraction is all that matters in you getting matches. You could only tweak so much. So yeah, 2 matches in 3 weeks. In women's eyes, you're not a 7. But then again, the way women rate men is It's like a cliff where that falls off completely. You're either attractive or you're not. It's not a slow little curve where it's like attractive, really attractive, super hot. Men are grading on a curve. Women are just like, it's a complete cutoff. And again, you got to think like a woman swiping through a bunch of profiles. If you make a female account and just swipe through just to see your competition, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. Most men are horrendously below average, horrendous profiles, or absolute like Greek gods. It's almost no in between. You're either one or the other. And that's essentially what women see men as too. Anyways, their experiences in life and dating and the kinds of men that they entertain and interact with on the daily basis is the high quality men. That's all they see. Everybody else is an invisible. Most men are in the invisible class in a woman's eyes. They don't sexually see you as a thing. You're a person, but of no sexual connotation. Just a human being in society. Only a set percent of men that are deemed attractive by everybody, women deem as men. That's just how it is, dude. So when you hear women say things like, I want a man that makes this much money, and she says something insane like 300,000, $500,000. My man's got to be able to do this, that. The guys they're hooking up with do that. The guys they've ever messaged back do that. In her world, that's average. In her world, every man does that. She's never taken out a McDonald's worker on a date. She's never gotten finessed or gamed by the KFC dude. The dude sweeping the floors. Those guys don't exist. She's never experienced truly average in society a man. So that's why when they say, I want this, this, and that, to them, that's normal. That's every guy they talk to. Every guy has that. What do you mean you don't make 300,000 a year? At least 100. It's hard for men to imagine. But if you could magically wave a wand and all of a sudden I put nothing but absolutely 10 out of 10 Asian, Scandinavian, African, and Hispanic women in front of you. Just dimes, dude. Your entire life revolves dimes. Nothing but dimes hit you up. You walk to the grocery store, an absolute perfect 10 tries to get your number as a man. If you get a man, 10, 10, 10, any woman that is even remotely hot as hell talks to you and wants you. Now imagine an average looking chick, an overweight looking chick, a chick that doesn't look like she can get paid for her looks, tries to talk to you. You're not wasting a second. That's gross. What the hell? Do you have any idea the women that approach me every day? I can't. There's too many women. I could be with a 10 Asian tomorrow, a 10 Hispanic tomorrow, a 10 European tomorrow. I have too many choices. These women are all absolutely beautiful. I can't decide if I want a blue-eyed one, a green-eyed one, brown-eyed, hazel. Well, this one's 6'2". This one is 6 feet tall. This one's 5'11". The choices are infinite. And you think I'm going to waste my time on average. When you ask a guy like that, whose only experience in life has been those kinds of women, describe your average woman, he's going to give you some stuff that sounds insane. She probably speaks multiple languages. She's 6 foot tall. She has blah colored eyes. She's blah, 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 blah. Perfect breast, perfect ass, and then you're like, that's average. That's the average that this guy's talking about. This is the bare minimum he wants. Dude, normal women would look at him like, you're insane. No average woman is like that. The same way we look at them and go, you're insane. The average man isn't like that. What are you talking about? Well, yeah, that's their average everyday experience. That's what makes this insane. They don't have a grasp on reality because the choice, they get to pick. You know, the club thing he said, there's a 75% of the club is men. The rest, 25%, is women. Of those 25%, how many are the single ones? Okay, say 10% of the club is the single women that are receptive to men openly hitting on them. And of those 10%, how many of them are the really hot ones? Okay, so the really hot ones are getting hit on by every single dude at the club who has the balls to even walk up to them. That means the dudes with the Lambos, with the Ferraris, the dudes with the bottles, with the VIP sections, all those guys are hitting up that one chick, those few girls. What do you think her average experience is on a night out? The KFC boys going up on a weekend after they saved money to get the $50 entry fee, babysitting a few drinks, looking at their phones in the corner. You think those are the guys that are hitting those girls up? Come on, man. Those guys don't exist in her eyes. They're just people taking up air and space.
6 and above are only going for that guy. And guess what? That guy will be willing to sleep with people who he wouldn't necessarily date. And this is what women don't really understand about men, is when men have options, right? Yeah, maybe they'll entertain an option for a little bit, but they're really looking for someone who matches them mentally, emotionally, physically. Like, that's what men are looking for. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a woman who matches me. And I would take a 10 personality and a 6 looks or a 5 looks like almost any day. The problem is those women are looking upward because we're in an unfamiliar world. So those 6s and 7s are looking upwards towards like 8 and 9 in men, and they can land those guys for a short period of time, but those men will move on. And that's the issue, is we're in an unfamiliar dating dynamic right now, and dating apps, social media, and like these unfamiliar communities are ruining everything. So I just want to interject here. I was hanging out with a woman last night, and she was probably like a 7 in looks, good personality.
That's essentially how men rate women on the curve I told you about. And then this is the steep drop off of how women rate men. Yeah, let's see what the comments say. Not only dating is harder, making friendships is also harder because of unfamiliarity. What an irony, social media destroying society and became essentially antisocial. I'm Gen X and I gave up after the smartphone got its grip on humanity. My friends became so freaking addicted that they simply cannot hold a conversation for more than 8 minutes without checking their phones. Most won't talk on the phone or participate on a Zoom call without constantly checking their laptop or other device. No one can compete with the glowing, pinging screens. If you want to meet people, leave the phone at home and get out of the world to meet the 2% of humans who also aren't digital zombies. That's a good point. The elephant in the room is that in a healthy dating system, the commitment should be before sex. Now, in a morally bankrupt society, there is sex first and maybe a situationship later. We may not have the data on previous societies, but teenagers have been fooling around since the beginning of time. So you're not going to stop horny teenagers. Sex has been happening before commitment. It just usually followed it shortly afterwards, and people just got married. Now we're not even getting married anymore. I'm 44, live in the UK, and never had a proper girlfriend. Sometimes I'm envious of my grandparents and parents' generation. At least they had plenty of pubs, cinemas, clubs to meet people, and also without being glued to their phones. Internet dating certainly has made it harder. I often fear I will never find love. I believe socially we have gone backwards. Yes and no. The brutal truth is, for average, it's gotten harder. For the people at the top, the most beautiful women and the most beautiful men, it's gotten way easier. You have global market access now. You can quite literally pick anybody in the world. Now, because we've become a global dating scene, if you want to call it that, the competition has spiked dramatically. You're no longer competing against the guy next to you. You're competing against the guy across the ocean. And it's basically a winner-takes-all system where the top percentile of men are literally taking the lion's share of everything now. And women are okay sharing those very select few men, because even the select few men having to share him is better than being with an average guy. It is what it is. Anyways, hope you guys liked today's episode. If you want to see this full one, the dude is called Wisdom Warriors. And we'll see you on the next one.